Good morning, once again, my brothers and sisters. Actually, when I was moving onto the stage, I remembered with signs of nostalgia my first instance as a public speaker. It was around 2009-10 or thereabout when I was in secondary school. And my class then supposed to give a presentation, a weekly presentation on any topic that the class chooses. And our speaker was absent. There's a punishment for anybody, for any class that fails to give that weekly presentation. And seriously, the punishment is usually the principal will stand in the assembly and say, and call the name of the class. I was in A then, and if I had failed to stand on that podium that day, the principal will say, Class A, stop behind, which means you will stay after prep classes and you will work on the farm until very late in the evening. I picked up the challenge and moved onto the stage. And when I was speaking then, my hands were trembling, seriously. And I was at a point, I was even shedding tears. But Alhamdulillah, today, I can speak to this group of audience without me trembling or shedding tears. When Suleiman Hassan Gimba called me and said, Ismail, can you please come to TEDx and speak to us? Well, I had a mixed feeling. One, I wanted to say no, because I believe TEDx is a very big platform for people like me to stand. Two, I wanted to say yes, because I want to make that history of I was once a TEDx speaker. And that's exactly why I'm here. We started agreeing on what I should come and talk about. And due to the range of things I do, I recently moved into journalism. I was into anti-corruption, and I'm a climate activist. So choosing a topic is also very difficult. And I believe Suleiman called me because of the work I'm doing with an online news platform called Sahelian Times. And we agreed I'm going to speak on 3 things. And those 3 things are fake news, misinformation, and hate speech. These are the 3 things I want us to discuss together today. And I will simply take us to a very, very short journey. Let me take us back to history. You see, in the year 1989, a news anchor in a national television, precisely in November 1989, announced the first Governor General of Nigeria and the first President of Nigeria, Chief Nnamdi Azikiwe, as dead. It was news at 9, NTA. And the next morning, the major newspapers has picked up the story of the death of Zik. In what happens to be like a miracle, Zik, as he was popularly known, bring himself back to life just 2 days after his death. And Zik lived for the next 7 years before he left the earth forever. And this is what happened. Zik was not dead when that particular news anchor pronounced him dead. It was simply a fake news. 30 years later, around 2017, news start circulating that President Muhammad Buhari, who have had the habit or still have the habit of leaving the country on a medical ground, was also announced dead. But in his case, he was replaced by a look-alike called Jibrin from Sudan. Within seconds, within nanoseconds, the news spread around to almost every part of the globe. And it continues to gather momentum until 2 years later, the president was first in a news conference to tell the world, look, guys, I am not dead. This is the real me. That's how powerful social media has made fake news. Very unlucky for Buhari. What happened is, unlike the time of Zik, there were no social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, and our darling YouTube. We all know how these platforms that were initially created to connect people around the world has helped in spreading fake news and misinformation. But this is what exactly happened. Many of us click to headlines or news items that tell us exactly what we want to hear. We want to read stories that will conform to our confirmation biases. And this will take me to the second item I wanted to discuss, misinformation. But before then, I think it is very important if we try to understand the difference between fake news and misinformation. The difference between fake news and misinformation is simply this. Fake news is usually created with the intention of misleading others, while in misinformation, that's not always the case. Sometimes scholars say misinformation happens due to human error. So if the intent is not known, then we can classify that particular information as misinformation. How many of us, for those of us that passed through science classes, how many of us can remember the tongue map? Where we were told, I think it was almost in all the biology textbook I know, that the tip of the tongue is used for you to test what is sweet and salty. The 2 edges for you to saw, and last part of it too, for you to test what is bitter. That is entirely, if you don't know this before, that knowledge your biology teacher taught you in secondary school is fake. And what happened is this. The scholar, if I can remember his name, Henrik or something similar, is a German scientist. So after he conducted the research, he put it somewhere in his shelf and he died. And that is when his colleagues started to or come to know about that particular research. And on the course of translation from this language to this language, that's exactly why we get that particular information wrong. And the Makarantar Lilo among us will agree with me if I say we have tests beyond what is bitter, sweetness, sour. They say we have something like savory. I don't know how it tastes like. But there are many tests like that. If that particular research is true, then how does the tongue come to know of these tests? You can read more about that. The second misinformation is this. I think just a year ago, we were asked not to take COVID-19 vaccine because it causes infertility, in quote. And we also told that COVID-19 is generally caused by the 5G technology. Of course, the two claims has no scientific backing. And if you closely look at these two claims, or even the three claims I gave, you come to understand that the information I shared to the general public, not with the intention of misleading others. It was largely due to human error. The former United States ambassador to Nigeria, John Campbell, wrote a book, and the name of the book is Nigeria Dancing on the Brick. He beautifully and intelligently argued that this geographical entity that houses around 200 million people is on the verge of collapsing. And to some extent, I think I agree with him. Maybe the country is more resilient that he thinks then, but we will agree that Nigeria has been consistently and persistently battling insecurity around almost all the regions. The Northeast is still battling the remnant of Boko Haram. In the Northwest, the killer herdsmen are killing my brothers and sisters, abducting them for ransom, and in the South, the militants are terrorizing that region, seriously. If you look closely at this menace of insecurity, you agree with me that fake news, misinformation, and the last thing I want us to discuss, hate speech, has been fueling this insecurity. I was just asking my brother Salim what happened when President Muhammad Buhari then made a very, very popular statement which says, Akasa, Atseri, Araka, Ajera, and he made a very, very dangerous speech at the end, which even calls for people to kill if the authority then is not willing to give them what he says is their mandate. Kaduna people end up spending almost 3 days locked up in their houses. We have similar stories like this, some from religious authorities. We can still remember a popular cleric in Jos during the crisis of Jos, how one of his speeches fuels violence. The objective of this brief presentation I just gave is this. I just want to create doubt in our individuals' minds. I want us to understand that not everything we read out there is true. So before you share any news item or any information, please do these 3 things. 1, check who first shared the information. 2, check other platforms you can trust. And 3, if it has to do with pictures or videos, please verify. How do you verify? If it's a picture, we have platforms like the Think Eye, we have the image reverse system, please just take that particular image or video, upload it on that particular platform, and it will tell you if that picture or video is recent or not.